today. Away from that, you can also find anthrax. Don't slaughter sick, dead animals. Expert urges butchers. 7,000 athletes battle for 1,000 medals at MTN Champs. Deploy battalion to Taraba's volatile areas. Government begs course. Military coaches troops in. Counterinsurgency had soft approach. Some more stories. States borrow 46 billion naira from banks to pay salaries. Access, Fidelity, Zenith lend states 46 billion naira in 6 months as government battles poor IGRs. And another rider to that major story, Fiscal Responsibility Commission issues guidelines to banks on lending to states, MDAs. And some more stories away from the major story. Chicago Varsity vindicates Tinubu. Presidency insists that Chico files documents today. Federal government to convert 10 million PMS vehicles to CNG. Naira, among Africa's worst currencies, falls by 40%, according to the World Bank. Judgment based on constitution, not public opinion, according to the CGN. 5 Katsina Varsity students kidnapped. Police nab informant. To the red corner of the Punch, teacher's car crushes pupil to death in Lagos school. And finally, from the Punch newspaper, ministerial nominee, faints. Journalist dies in National Assembly shuttle.
All right, headlines from the Daily Trust. Fresh twist. Chicago University says it doesn't have certificate Tinubu presented to INEC. Nasarawa APC rejects majority judgment, backs governor's decision to appeal. Why I will sponsor bill for children of fallen heroes. Benue Deputy Speaker. PDP appeals Benue governorship judgment. Don't make Imo governorship poll do or die. Political actors advise. Why coup is spreading across Africa. U.S. Consul General. More headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. This one, talking business. IHS Towers meets Tinubu invests $200 million in green energy solutions. Governor Eno inaugurates 360 personal assistants. Nasarawa APC rejects majority judgment. Already took that one. FIFA announces 2030 World Cup to be held across 3 continents. Those are some of the headlines from the Daily Trust this morning. I'll move over to the Premium Times. Quickly take some of the headlines here. Oil prices fall amid demand fears. It's the major one there. Mobad, court remands Naira Marley, Sam Larry, 2 others. Senate confirms 3 more ministerial nominees. Kidnappings favored war weapon in Sahel. 2 years after Anambra LP governorship candidate still missing, again suspected terrorists abduct university students. Updated ministerial nominee slumps during screening. So another one there. Senate orders investigation into incarceration of 250 Nigerians in Ethiopian prisons. Kano governor files appeal challenging election tribunal judgment. Nigerian woman jailed for trafficking 12 girls abroad for sexual exploitation. And lastly, from the Premium Times, UK visits First Lady, 6 areas of collaboration.
All right, some stories from the Nation newspaper. CGN, public opinion does not determine court decisions. Senate okays Ebie, Ogboko, Namdas, Okwacha, others for NDDC board. UAE team in Abuja to fine-tune talks on visa ban, others. Crude theft not only reason for low production, says agency. CSU deposition authenticates Tinubu's certificate. Navy hands over 27 bags of cannabis worth 35 million naira to NDLEA. Police declare prime boy wanted. Shaibu denied use of government house. Akpabio condemns discrimination against Nigerians in diaspora. How we cleared 204,332 passport backlog by Interior Minister. Kanu's lawyer, no secret meeting with President. Terrorism, Turkey assures of prompt delivery of TK-1 helicopters to Nigeria. How to tackle Nigeria's critical security challenges by experts. And we take a look at something from the sports side. UCL dominant Newcastle Raw to home victory over PSG. And some more stories. Importance of youth inclusion in policy making framework by group. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, this one says federal government to gather precise data on minerals, says Alaki.
All right, headlines from the Nigerian Tribune. Fuel queues return as litre of PMS hits 650 in Sokoto. Federal government sets 2-week timeline for issuance of passport by immigration. Mobad court orders remand of Naira Marley, Sam Larry. Declared ginger fungi as pandemic, and EPC tells federal government why double handling charges still persist on Lagos Ibadan, Cargo Rail, and RC. How DENIKE is repositioning Nigeria's customs through multi-stakeholder collaboration. Delta Airlines turns skies pink, raises breast cancer awareness. Adulterated fuel, federal government tasked on provision of testing laboratories. Tribute as Tijani Adeyemi, Tribune Senate correspondent, dies. And this one here says mixed reactions, trill extension of NG's AOC by NCAA. Airpeace suffered 26 bird strikes in 5 months on Yema at 63. Nigeria's aviation still lagging behind. And lastly, from the Nigerian Tribune this morning is this one. NIMET DG laments vandalism of weather equipment at airports.
Vanguard newspaper, our first story, World Bank paints gloomy picture of growth in Nigeria. Others, Mobad, court remands Naira Marley, Sam Larry. 2 others. Court martial declares Major General guilty of 1.476 million theft. And also CGN to judges, we must rise above temptations, trials. So the major story on the Vanguard newspaper, states split over federal government's 35,000 naira wage award to federal workers. And some writers to that major story will key into federal government's template: Enugu, Edo, Ondo, Ekiti, Kebbi, Delta, Oyo, Adamawa, and others to negotiate with workers. Another writer says federal government can dictate to us what to pay. This is according to the Niger government. Away from that, terrorists abduct 5 varsity students in Katsina. 1 suspect arrested. Federal government issues 2-week timeline for passport processing. Clears over 204,000 backlog. Presidency Atiku disagree over certificates Tinubu submitted to INEC. 22 drown as boat capsizes in Niger. 6 bodies recovered. I'm guessing that is Niger instead. Senate screens confirms 3 additional ministers for Tinubu as Lawal slums. And finally, and from the sports side, Ancelotti, how we caged Osimhen.
All right, quickly before we go on a commercial break, a few headlines from the Guardian newspaper. Navy intercepts 35 million naira worth of cannabis in Badagry. Tragedy in Senate as journalist dies. Ministerial nominee slumps during screening. Newcastle thrashed PSG on Champions League homecoming. Is the sports story there. And lastly, from the Guardian this morning, impeachment group warns of mayhem in Ondo. We'll take some commercials, and when we come back, we'll be delving into the analysis. Stay with us.
32 FM 94.9.
See how I'm using corner eye to look at you as you keep pressing *321# on your phone. Is it not credit that you want to borrow from Glow?
Yes, now. What happened? Has the code changed?
Where have you been, girl? *303# is the new code to borrow credit and data on Glow.
So the code is no longer *321#, but *303#?
Confirmento. Voila! It worked, oh! Before Uncle, *303# not before show. But guy, I hope so the data where you borrow go reach me and you.
Dial *303# to borrow credit and data on Glow and pay later. *303#, new code, same great ease.
Glow Unlimited.
Hello there. Have you ever traveled with your feet fly on any of our pilgrimage journey to Israel, Greece, Rome, or Jordan? This is another glorious opportunity to journey once again with your feet fly to Canada. Register now
to be part of those attending the Ministers' Conference in Canada for pastors and ministers, police officers, and health workers such as doctors and nurses. Coming up this December, January, and February.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni o, àǹfààní olówó iyebíye ní fún ọ láti darapọ̀ mọ́ ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ènìyàn tí yóò kópa nínú ìpàdé àwọn ìríjú Ọlọ́run alààyè lórílẹ̀‐èdè in Canada. Indeed, it is going to be a positive, life-changing experience. Láti má wàá gbẹ̀yìn, tètè yọjú sọ́fíìsì You Fit Fly tó wà ní Success House, 7 Up Road, Olúyọ̀lé Main Estate, Ring Road, Ìbàdàn. Tètè yọjú sí gbogbo ẹ̀ka iléeṣẹ́ You Fit Fly tó wà lárọ̀ọ́wọ́tó rẹ. Fún àlàyé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ ẹ kàn sí www.youfitfly.com tàbí lórí àwọn ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ at You Fit Fly, or better still call the following numbers: 090-1111-1190, 070-6275-9762, and 080-9300-2096. Canada is the next port of calling. Do not be left out.
Give malaria a double punch of artesunate and amodiaquine, an effective combination that Camosunate is anti-malaria therapy. Camosunate, and you will bounce back to life. Camosunate comes in 4 different parts for different age groups: below 1 year, 1 to 6 years, 7 to 13 years, 14 and above. Camosunate.
Camosunate, effective anti-malaria for all ages. Marketed by Janet Pharmaceuticals Limited. If symptoms persist after 3 days, please see your doctor. Read the leaflet inside.
The word is out. From the glistening beaches to the glamorous city streets. The Real Housewives of Lagos Season 2 is here. Your favorites, Chioma, Iyabo, Laura, Mariam, and Toyin, return to bring you even more charm, style, and drama. While Faith and Tanya join Eko's elite and add some extra spice. Subscribe from 1,200 Naira monthly. Sign up now at showmax.com.
tí Nine Mobile Network Naija gangan bá jẹ́ ayọ̀ rẹ̀, èrè ńlá ń dúró dè ọ́. Nígbàkúgbà tí o bá nílò dátà sí láti wo sinimá tàbí gba oríṣiríṣi àjàbalẹ̀ eré ìdárayá, Nine Mobile wà fún ọ. Pẹ̀lú 1,500 Naira péré, wàá jẹ ìgbádùn 8 GB látọ̀dọ̀ Nine Mobile. O tún lè fi 9.5 GB ṣe ìfàjẹ pẹ̀lú 2,000 Naira péré àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Darapọ̀ mọ́ Nine Mobile lónìí tàbí kí o tẹ *301# láti yan dátà olówó pọ́kú tí ó ṣe gbẹ́kẹ̀lé. Nine Mobile wà níbí fún ọ, wà níbí fún Naija.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
All right, it's great to have you back with us. 32 FM 94.9, 16 minutes to 7 o'clock. The Papers Review. My name is Kenny Georgilu.
And my name is DENIKE Adimoago. We go straight to the analysis, and to do that for us is Professor Olu Ojedoku. Good morning, Prof.
Of course, it's top of the day to you.
Okay, we start off with this particular one. Caused a bit of an uproar on social media yesterday. The newly confirmed minister from Kaduna State, Abbas Balarabe, gave some reasons why he slumped during his screening before the Senate. And according to him, he said he had suffered exhaustion. And while preparing for screening for a ministerial role, he said he stayed up all night preparing for his big day and all of that. However, some people have speculated that the slumping was intentional to evade questions and that it shows that he cannot carry the yoke of what it means to be minister. Do you think this slumping is in any way connected to his capabilities to handle his new office?
I think it's uncharitable for people to suggest that. There's no evidence to suggest that this was an act or charade or that a pretext or trying to demonstrate some dramatical skills. It's quite plausible that the man was exhausted and tired. And you also have to look at that environment. Any slight change in temperature. These are not places that have windows. You rely on the AC system, the air conditioning system. So any slight change could affect him in any sort of way. So I think the more plausible explanation is that the man was exhausted, he was tired, and of course he slumped. I don't think there's any difficult questions this Senate asked anybody. You understand? So he has nothing to fear at all. The last time, the only reason why ministers were not confirmed was because of security reports, not because our Senate decided to ask provocative questions rather, or decided to delve into any matter at all. The scrutiny that comes from our House of Senate rather is below the par. Anyway, they've been approved. My concern is not so much with his health. His health is back now. I was concerned yesterday. Today, I'm not concerned. Is with the number of ministers that have been approved. We have 45 plus 3. That's 48. And we are trying to cut costs. The government has serious issues. A 10 trillion rather, deficit, you understand, in terms of our budget. Which means the money has to come from somewhere. And if it doesn't come from cutting expenditure, it has to come from further borrowing or from someplace.
All right, Prof, one story that would interest a lot of people this morning will have to do with the certificate saga involving our president. We hear that the Chicago State University has said it does not have the certificate of Mr. President. And yes, it looks like the saga continues. How do you see this particular one unfolding over the next couple of days?
Well, I see it's an embarrassment for the country. Politically, I don't think this president will be dislodged, but it's very embarrassing. Let's take the facts as they are. We're not coloring them. We're not APC. We're not PDP or Labour Party. The Southwest College, the results that were used to get into Chicago State University belonged to Bola A. Tinubu. When you look at the social security number of Bola A. Tinubu on the Southwest College certificate or transcript or whatever, it is linked to a female. There's no doubt about that. So what then happens is that between that admission and coming to Chicago State University, she changes into a male. There is no doubt that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of the country, attended Chicago State University. However, he didn't collect a certificate. They said it. You understand? You're supposed to go there and collect it. They don't mail it. They don't post it. And so what the question arises, what certificate was he using? In other words, they've confirmed that the certificate he was using was not collected from them. So there are many questions to be asked there. And some people are suggesting identity fraud. Some people are suggesting all manner of things. But let's be very clear. In terms of his educational qualification, he meets the mark. But in terms of probity, in terms of integrity, those are other questions to be asked.
What does the Constitution say about,
the Constitution is clear.
Like
118, subsection 1J, says if you present a forged document to INEC, then you are disqualified. The problem we have, however, you understand, is that the Supreme Court, a lot of the evidence before them has been crystallized. And in ordinary cases, you'll be allowed to introduce this. But we are in electoral matters, which is sui generis, one of its own kind. So the question is, can you now introduce this evidence now at this late stage? I fear you may not be able to. And if you're not able to, even though there's the order 2 of the Supreme Court rules, you understand? If you're not able to, then it's just embarrassment value.
All right, let's take a look at this one. A 5-member United Arab Emirates UAE team is in Nigeria to harmonize positions with authorities for the final stage resumption of commercial flights between both countries and issuance of visas to Nigerians. The delegation, comprising of the people that have come, arrived in Nigeria on Sunday. Now, we have had this news. There was an official post on the Twitter page of the president where he said that the ban had been lifted and expressly wrote all of those things. And it was reported later on that nothing of such, because the UAE said that they did not lift the ban yet. Now, this report has come that there's some people on ground to do this. What exactly do we believe?
No, I think obviously it was discussed but never resolved. And it's all right to say, I discussed such and such with King Kenny, and we're only discussing it. And then for me to come out and say, King Kenny has agreed, you understand, to become a lecturer in Lee City University. You understand? No, we were only discussing it. This is just hypothetical. So I think they were discussing it. But I don't think any decision was made. But somebody jumped the gun and said the decision was made. And I think they said the follow-up was that we will consider it. And that's what they're doing. So, of course, they want to consider it. And, of course, it's within their right to consider it. And it's not within our right to be a purveyor of half-truth and inaccurate information. So I think the person who is guilty here is the spokesman of Mr. President, and which means the lessons here are always be sure of the information you put out in the public domain, or it will come back to bite you.
All right, Prof, let's have your reaction to this one. The U.S. Consul General in Nigeria, Will Stevens, he said the growing trend of military takeovers of government in Africa is because some leaders in the continent refuse to relinquish power after their tenure in office. He did say, and I quote, Olusegun Obasanjo served 2 terms and left power. He set the precedent in terms of you serve and then you step aside for your successor. He also mentioned that President Buhari did the same thing. What's your reaction to this?
Well, let's be very clear first and foremost. that all these coups that have occurred so far are in francophone countries. So it's not just about their refusal to give up tenures. It's also about the domineering and the insidious kind of colonialism that France has maintained on many of these colonies. So there are two pronged reasons, in my view, from that point of view. But yes, people staying there forever. We don't have monarchies in these countries. We have so-called democracies. And of course, we know that even in Nigeria, OBJ, through some of his cronies, attempted to go for a third term. There are people who said they would have supported OBJ if Nigeria's progress was to be assured. The problem with that is that if one person breaches that provision, then others are going to. So for the sake of consistency and fairness, when people finish their terms, they should go. None of this term elongation. And we don't want military administration or military regimes because they don't help us in any way.
Okay, another story here. Public opinions cannot override constitution. That's a statement from the CGN, Justice Ariola. He says vitriolic attacks regularly heaped on the judiciary. It's, however, crystal clear that the public opinions, no matter how serious or weighty it might be, cannot override or supersede the constitution of the country, which, of course, has been applied in all of the judgments we've had recently.
Well, I think he's speaking to these judges. He's certainly not speaking to the public. Well, he's also speaking to the public. I think he's trying to tell us that no matter how we feel about a judgment, we might feel aggrieved. We might feel that it's not on our side. And in fact, the vast majority of the public may feel that a person may not be qualified for office for certain reasons. At the end of the day, you have to follow the law and the constitution. So, for instance, in the issue of certificate, you have to follow the law and the constitution. In other words, you understand, if the constitution says otherwise, even though you don't like it and are dissatisfied, you just have to lump it and live with it. But there are some people who would say, there's the law as it is, and the law as it ought to be. And so the people like Kayode Esho, JSA of blessed memory, Oputa of blessed memory, Unamani, Namakagu, Akinola Aguda, they will be the ones who will say law as it ought to be. But there'll be some people say, you don't go outside what it ought to be. It's the law as it is. Stop messing around. Right. Otherwise, it allows other considerations, such as what you've suggested, public opinion, and so on and so forth, to creep in.
Okay, a story from the Punch newspaper says Senate probes killing of 250 Nigerians in Ethiopia. There seems to be a video clip in circulation on social media indicating that Nigerians are held captive in the maximum prison of Ethiopia and are in serious peril, and it calls for urgent intervention and thorough probes. So this, according to the House of Senate, they are moving a motion to investigate the alleged killings and imprisonment of over 250 Nigerians in Ethiopia. What's your reaction to this?
We certainly need a more activist foreign intervention, foreign policy. It's a disgrace if that is happening. It's unspeakable. And of course, the Ethiopia government must be called to account. Nigerians, wherever they are, in whatever part of the world, ought to be protected and ought, you understand, to have their own consular rights, guaranteed. You don't just go and kill people willy-nilly because they are refugees or because they happen to stray into your country. We don't know about the veracity of this, but it ought to be investigated. And of course, the Ethiopia government must account in terms of compensation and in terms of consequences, if indeed it is true.
Okay, the Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal on Wednesday received a comprehensive update, we hear, on the status of the remaining kidnapped victims of the Federal University Gusau. And they're saying that measures are being implemented to guarantee the safe return of some of those students. Now, in a statement, the governor said they've inaugurated a steering committee for the establishment of community protection guards. According to him, the council deliberated on various strategies to tackle the disturbing cases of mandatory kidnapping and all of that. Prof, would you look at that and are you satisfied with the measures being taken? Do you think that's enough and would help bring back those students?
The problem is not going to be solved by committee. The problem is going to be solved by intelligence, having bodies on the ground, and of course, checking the trend. You notice that this is not the first, this is not the second or the third. And in another state recently, the same tactics and modus operandi is occurring. I take it that some people are benefiting from this kidnapping, not just the kidnappers, but some people are their brokers, as we call them. Some people call them conflict entrepreneurs. They are the ones benefiting from it. So I think the government also needs to think about maybe establishing their own Amotekun. It won't be called Amotekun, but they need people around, the eyes of the government, the eyes of the people, who can do a sort of traffic light system. What do I mean? I mean, there will be areas where you know that it's a red light situation, which means you have to intervene almost immediately. Amber, you understand, is going to become pretty dangerous very soon. Green tells you there's no conflict at the moment. All this will tell you the areas that are priority, the areas you should deploy personnel to, and you should gather intelligence and act. But the number one and immediate responsibility of government is to pursue those people, rescue those girls, and ensure that the kidnappers are dealt with the most severest of consequences.
All right, let's take a look at another story from the House of Representatives. Yesterday, urged the federal government to pay adequate attention to incidences of suicide, other mental health challenges, and attendant effects on the citizens. There have been recurring issues. For instance, there was a video yesterday of a particular guy, somewhere in Lagos, who wanted to commit suicide, and we've had recurring incidents like that. What's your take on this particular move by the House of Rep?
It's a good move. I don't see that it's going to bring any results, because a lot of people committing suicide are doing it because they have some of them feel they have no alternative. Some of them feel they've lost hope. There's no renewed hope for them. Their ability to feed themselves, maintain themselves is not there. And some of them feel they have a choice. Either you die by slow suicide, you understand, or rather you do it quick, from that point of view. So I think revitalizing the economy, ensuring that job opportunities, ensuring hope is genuinely and actually renewed, that's what's going to stop it. But it's good that at least the House of Reps is aware of this and they're talking about it.
Okay, Prof, let's have your reaction to this headline out of the Punch. States borrow 46 billion naira from banks to pay salaries. That's the report out of the Punch, and it says that state governments borrowing that amount from 3 banks to pay salaries between January and June 2023. The names of the banks are listed there in that particular report. Just your thoughts on...
Well, these are states who are employing 500, in some situations 300 special assistants, and all manner of, perks of office has still been maintained. States, many of them are not very serious about governance. If they were, you understand, the first thing they would do is cut down the cost of governance before they begin to pursue borrowing. And then you ask the question, allocations have been going up. You understand? We now have allocations as more than 1 trillion. You understand? And these states are still borrowing. I think this has to be looked at. States, the problem we have with states is that the houses of assemblies do not call them to account. Many of them are placeholders of the governors. And that's why these governments do willy-nilly whatever they want to do. Some of them are trying to build airports. In this economy, they're building airports, and there's no economic justification in some instances. There are only 2 airports, in conclusion, that are making money in this country. We have 3, Kano, we have Abuja, and we have Lagos. And some state governments are borrowing heavily to build airports.
Okay, we'll have to go on a commercial break right now. When we come back, we'll be opening the phone lines. Stay with us.
So far away.
Mornings are for dreamers.
I'm a dreamer, yes, I'm a dreamer. Oh,
The break of dawn for champions.
champion, champion, champion,
On 32 FM 94.9.
The time is 7 a.m. Have you had your Golden Penny Amazing Day instant cereal today?
The word is out. From the glistening beaches to the glamorous city streets. The Real Housewives of Lagos Season 2 is here. Your favorites, Chioma, Iyabo, Laura, Mariam, and Toyin, return to bring you even more charm, style, and drama. While Faith and Tanya join Eko's elite and add some extra spice. Subscribe from 1,200 Naira monthly. Sign up now at showmax.com.
give malaria a double punch of artesunate and amodiaquin, an effective combination that Camosunate is anti-malaria therapy. And you will bounce back to life. Comes in 4 different parts for different age groups. Below 1 year, 1 to 6 years, 7 to 13 years, 14 and above. Camosunate.
Ambosonate, effective anti-malaria for all ages. Marketed by Zenith Pharmaceuticals Limited. If symptoms persist after 3 days, please see your doctor. Read the leaflet inside.
I'm living the life because I get to
Hey, kọ́ńbù ẹ̀kú àlejò imú gbòǹgbò ọ̀nà ẹ̀kú àlejò ẹsẹ̀. Ìbàdàn nílé Olúyọ̀lé ẹ̀kú àmójúbà Tizeti Network Limited. Pẹ̀lú Tizeti, ìlò omi òjò lẹ́ẹ̀ máa lo ayélujára íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì ní yàwàlù. Torí pé gbajúgbajà nílé iṣẹ́ Tizeti Network Limited. Nídìí ìpèsè ayélujára lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà fún ilé iṣẹ́ ńláńlá àti olókoòwò kéékèèké lábẹ́ àbúradà Tizeti. Ẹ lè browse, kẹ́ stream, kẹ́ sì tún gbá géèmù bó ṣe wù yín láì níkọ̀sẹ̀. Pẹ̀lú ìlànà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́mùkú data kèé máa ṣeré. Ìwọ ni kò má sọ̀fànù. 12,500 naira péré lẹ́ẹ̀fi jẹ mùlá data fódìdí oṣù kan gbáko lábẹ́ àbúradà Tizeti láì níkọ̀sẹ̀. Ẹ kàn sí wifi.com.ng/oyo. Ẹ sì lè pe 01-2298-786 tàbí kẹ́ ẹ tẹ àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ sí internet@wifi.com.ng. Ayélujára ní yàwàlù.
32 FM 94.9.
All right, thank you for staying tuned to the Break of Dawn Papers review. We now take your reactions on the show this morning. We're live on Facebook, 32FM 949. You want to like and, of course, share our video. 0705 5000 949 and 0809 7949 are the numbers to call to, of course, share your thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I'm John Nuzonjoko. Thank you, Professor. Yes, actually, OBJ wanted the third time. But thanks to distinguished Senator Ken Inamani led the Senate, who threw away that bill along with other 102 others to the admiration of Nigerians. I'm happy that contrary to public opinion too, I'm delighted that the police has done what I believe the police will do by charging Naira Marley and others to court for their involvement in the death of Mohbad, having assured Nigerians that I have implicit confidence in the police not to treat the matter with levity. The onus now lies on the DPP to verify and provide the legal counsel to prosecute the case. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. 0705 5949 0829 7949. Once again, we're live on Facebook. You can share your thoughts and your comments on Facebook with us. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. All right.
Please, I want to ask Professor Bedogo. Is it true? Is it established that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually attended the Chicago Festival? Because that's why I'm arguing with this. I don't understand. Thank you.
All right, Prof, do you want to react to that?
No, I think it's been established by deposition by the officials of Chicago State University. The only problem is that the certificate that he presented, you understand, is not necessarily the certificate that was issued. In other words, he never collected his actual certificate and presented, whatever he presented.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ingamari calling from Apacha. I want to equally ask Professor this question. What if the court fails to stop President Bola Ahmed Tinubu since they knew that he has a false certificate? What will happen afterwards? Thank you.
Well, he will continue as president, but I think what the opposition is playing at is the next election. Because obviously, you understand, if he doesn't have the actual certificate, you understand, then what is he going to present at the next election? Those are the key questions that will arise. But for this one, it may be unpopular with some people. I think the time has passed. I think it will serve its term, even though it's embarrassing to us as a nation.
32FM 949 Ibadan is the dial, of course, to be live on Facebook and to join us on YouTube as well. Raja Hafiz says, good morning, Kenny and DENIKE. About the ministerial nominee who slumped during the screening, honestly, this is another national embarrassment. How can presidency nominate who is not fit enough for the job when he cannot withstand only screening exercise? How much more the rigorous exercise after he's eventually cleared? Appointment like minister is for someone that's physically and mentally fit, not old people like the slumped man.
No, let's just be very careful. The only people that can determine whether somebody is physically fit or not are medical doctors who are certified. The fact that somebody collapses does not suggest they are not physically fit.
All right, 0705 5949, 0809 7949. Those are the numbers. We take some more messages from Facebook.
Raja Afiz Abidemi says, Good morning, Kenny, Denike, and analyst in the studio. On the issue of statement credited to CGN yesterday, I think Baba Justice Ariwola is giving them what they're supposed to do so that they will not mislead Nigerians. And also, justice is not on social media. Rather, they should follow what the Constitution says. Hello, good morning. Hello.
All right, lost that one. Do try and call back 0705 5949, 0809 7949.
Mera Mietune says, Good morning. Payment of salaries is definitely one of the duties of our leaders, and we should even appreciate the governors paying on time. But it's a pity that even at 63 years of independence, they still borrow billions of naira to pay salaries. Why exactly are we called the giant of Africa if we can't successfully pay salaries? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I can hear that Professor Joseph said that you cannot contest for second term because of that certificate. Both of you, if you go back to that Chicago offensive and go and recommend the certificate.
Then if he goes that and presents that, what he will be open to, obviously has immunity, was the forgery of the first one. So I agree with you that presenting that one may now give him the qualification that he needs to be president.
0705 5000 949 and 0809 7000 949.
All right, Prof, I'd like to get your reaction to this one. I believe it's out of the Daily Post newspaper this morning. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, he has lamented the gradual erosion of values among citizens. He's observed that a sense of patriotism as a nation requires improvement, according to him. Now, the question is, value orientation, is that the answer? Especially as Nigerians are not as patriotic as they used to be. Is that coming from a lack of trust in government, as a government that has failed them repeatedly over time?
I think it's quite clear that's lack of credibility in those that govern us. This case that we're talking about, certificate saga and everything, speaks to the issue. If we cannot trust our leaders, if our leaders, you understand, the antecedents cannot be clarified, verified, or confirmed, then you expect the man on the street, you understand, to be loyal, obedient, and all that stuff. No, it's not going to happen. The other thing about it, you understand, is that we have got to the point of progressive politics where the end justifies the means. It doesn't matter if I'm a crook, insofar as I do good at the end of the day, then it justifies the means. And so what you have is a lot of people doing that and say, it doesn't matter how I get there. Insofar as when I get there, I do the right thing. All those things affect our value system.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Are you there? Okay,
all right. 0705 5000 949 and 0809 7000 949. Facebook is 32FM 949. Please remember to like and share our video. Prof, let's take your reaction to this one. Naira among Africa's worst currencies falls by 40%. This is according to the World Bank. The currency is weakened by nearly 40% against the US dollar since a mid-June devaluation. Some people are speculating that, maybe so many people did not think we're going to get to 1,000 naira to a dollar, and that we're going to 1,500. What's your reaction to that?
Well, if you don't address it and we don't do something dramatic, that's why we're relying on people like Cardoso and Adrian to come up with something quick and something fast. In other words, I've always said that the bane of our problem is the 23 trillion that was printed by Mayfairly, apart from the fact that we don't produce hardly anything. So we have to start producing. We have to curb the amount of money that is in the economy. And then we have to find a way, you understand, to generate foreign exchange. The problem is that we have too few dollars and too much naira. There has to be an equilibrium. It was quite unfortunate that our naira has lost so much value, and we have to do something about it quickly and fast.
0705 5949, 0829 7949. Those are the numbers. Prof, your reaction to this one. We hear in Bauchi, residents are opting for firewood, charcoal as cooking. Gas prices hit 1,000 naira per kilogram.
I think people just want to survive. There was a time when gas was coming down, and as a result of that, people rush to gas. People are transforming their generators from petrol to gas.
Right.
And I think it's part of it is implication of what's going on the world market. But you asked the question. We probably have one of the largest reserves of gas in the world. One of the largest, not the largest, one of the largest. And you have to ask yourself, what exactly is going on? Why can't we, at least address the price issue? And part of the problem is that there's no subsidy on it, and therefore we reflect the price on the global market. That's what we are paying, which is rather unfortunate. But there has to be some kind of help to people who can least afford it.
Especially students. I can imagine what students are going through.
Yes.
Experiencing 1,000. How do you cope with that? And of course, the average Nigerian, the common man.
What they even go for, the shackle that they used to go for, has increased exponentially. And what some people are doing is they're cutting down, chopping wood, chopping trees, and all that is not good for the environment. So there needs to be some intervention of some sort. Even kerosene will not hack it.
So Ademi on Facebook says, good morning. The division that ensued among the state governors on the 35,000 naira wage award is expected because the financial capacity of these states are not the same, and as such, federal government should have allowed the state governments to negotiate with the workers by themselves based on their peculiarities. Hello, good morning. All right, and I think that's the much to take on the comments this morning. Adeniro Shegun. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, ma.
Good morning.
Oladipo from Shokaida Ibadan.
All right, go ahead.
Prof, I really love how you analyze the issue of Chicago. You really separate the meat from the bone. People always think that maybe they are talking about the fact that Tinubu did not go to Chicago University. No, it was how he was able to get admission there. And you are able to separate all those things. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's see if we can do one more call before we go. 0705 5949 0809 7949. Meantime, okay, let's do this one. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Shola from the wood.
Please turn down the volume on your radio. Okay.
Okay, we have to go now. Prof, any final thoughts before we go?
Not just to hope that the so-called renewed hope that we've been promised will actually become hope in reality. I want us to be able to separate all this certificate saga from what Nigerians are going through. Most Nigerians today are concerned about their the conditions of living, the terms of their existence, and of course their economic fortunes. And I hope this government will be able to focus on that and ensure that we have a more prosperous and a better Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Oluwajedugun, for joining us this morning. I am Kenny Doritilu. Good morning.
And I am Adenike Adimwagun. The Smart Kids Show is up next.